This is music, and this is a dive into the Danish Demo Dungeon. Firstly, if it sounds like there's a cat purring somewhere, that's because there is a cat purring somewhere off screen. Actually, just right here underneath the microphone. I figured it would be fun to take a couple of dives into the Danish Demo Dungeon and maybe focus on a specific artist at the time and have a look at their demo output. But before that, I want to just say thanks to TRINI Grooves for giving this channel a shout out in one of his recent videos. I really appreciate that. That's absolutely awesome. It's so great how supportive this VC is. Vinyl community, music community, for those of you who don't know. Now, should there be somebody out there who's not familiar with TRINI Grooves, because I think most of my viewers are, it's a channel devoted to collection of physical music media, cassettes, CDs, and vinyls. And there's a lot of metal on his channel, but one thing I really like about his channel is that although there's a lot of metal and hard rock on it, he actually features lots of different genres, like well beyond the world of metal as well, and that's really awesome. I really like that variety that his channel has. So on the off chance you don't know about TRINI Grooves, go and check out his channel. So let's get to the Danish Demo Dungeon. I showed what it is in a previous video, but here's just a recap. It's a web page that it's kind of like an archive. It archives demo tapes for the most part, but also some other types of demo formats that were common back in the day. And it's mainly music from the late 80s and mostly from the 90s and a bit from the noughties and maybe a bit later. But most of it represents the 90s. And that's particularly, I think, exciting to me because that represents the underground scene that I was a marginal part of, but I was a part of it at the time. I was in a thrash metal band at the time. And I did have a bit of a collection of demo tapes that I would buy at, local gigs, and most of that collection is gone. I only have 2 survivors left. So it's really exciting to me to be able to go back into the Danish Demo Dungeon, because it's the Danish underground scene, and be able to access many of the demos that I had back in the day and that I really loved. So today I'm going to go into the Danish Demo Dungeon and I'm gonna have a look at Eidetic, a Danish progressive technical thrash band who eventually became more of a progressive hard rock / metal band. They are no longer active, sadly, but they had 3 demos that I had all of them. They were really good. So let's dive into the dungeon and have a look at those. So here we are, standing by the entrance of the dungeon, peering in. I've already showcased this webpage in a previous video, but just for those of you who haven't seen that video, this is the front page of the Danish Demo Dungeon. You got the URL up here. Pretty straightforward, danishdemodungeon.dk. And you got the artists out here, so you can click, each of these, and it'll take you to a page that, for the most part, will feature some pictures, and many of them will feature actual demos, sound files and all. So they've been digitized. The artist we're interested in this video is Eidetic, and they're actually right here. So let's scroll down to E. There they are, Eidetic. Clicking it, so we have been taken to their page here. And first thing to sort of comment on, I think, here is that their logo reminds me, I could be completely mistaken, but it reminds me a bit of a band called Forte, I think. To be honest, I don't remember what they sound like, Forte, but I remember borrowing a couple of their albums on CD from a friend and really liking it. And then for some reason, when I returned them to him, I never got back to exploring them anymore. But so Forte might be something that I might be interested in checking out. So I will probably check them out. But so you got the logo here. I think it's a pretty cool logo. It has kind of like a futuristic look to it. And it also suggests that we're not dealing with the typical type of artist from the scene at the time, because they were active, and you can see that if you scroll down right here there's the first demo from 1990, the last one 95. So they were active in the 90s and the early 90s, maybe the late 80s. And the underground scene in Denmark back then was, most of it was some kind of extreme metal. Either, thrash metal, sort of with a camp and death metal, so kind of like death thrash, or all-out death metal. There was a lot of that, or death doom, or some grindcore, and of course a lot of black metal kind of artists emerged in this era. So it was a scene that was characterized by a lot of extreme metal, but Eidetic were cool, and I remember thinking that back in the day too. They were cool because they were different from that. They were not extreme. They had clean singing. They, I'm not saying the other artists didn't care about that either, but Eidetic tried to kind of like showcase musicianship and kind of like alternative songwriting and so on and so forth. A lot of the extreme metal bands did that as well, so I'm not saying they didn't, and many of those extreme metal bands were really good, but I just liked Eidetic for being a bit different here. They kind of valued melody as well, which was not something that most of the underground scene at the time cared about. So let's have a look. So you got some band shots here from, it says from the non-conspicuous days. So very young. This is from 1990. You got the band members here. They had a bit of I would say maybe a revolving door thing going on. And a pretty cool looking self-made t-shirts. It looks pretty professional there, so that's pretty cool. Here you have, so there are 4-piece here. Here there are 5-piece from Mirror Passway. So this one up here is from 1990. This one here is from 1992, and they've already changed a lot, right? Got an Invocator t-shirt, pretty cool. You got, I don't know, is that, I can't see, might be a Dark Angel or something, or it could be some extreme metal t-shirt. So that also, they're actually from the same town as far as I remember as Invocator, but already here they look more mature. They look more like your thinking man's metal band, because their style was, in a sea of extreme metal bands, these guys pursued a more progressive sound, and I think that's one of the things I really liked about them. They played a lot of gigs in my town, so I've seen them live a couple of times. I enjoyed it every single time I watched them live. Not all members of the audience enjoyed them as much, because a lot of people came to those underground shows for the extreme metal, but that's, that's life. Anyways, let's have a look at their demos. So this is the first one, Non-Conspicuous Warning from 1990, and pretty cool, I think, artwork here. Very simple in a way, just black and white, and this was common to a lot of demo tapes. And then they have, some text in blue here. I don't know if this qualifies as baby blue, probably doesn't, but I really like this simple artwork, and it is kind of making its way back, this black and white kind of cover artworks. So that's That's very exciting. Anyways, um, pretty cool, pretty simplistic, but awesome visually, I think. I really like it. So you have 4 songs in this demo, and the style in this demo is thrash metal, but technical thrash metal. I don't know if it's all out progressive yet, but it's kind of like technical thrash metal with progressive elements, to be sure. I think there is probably quite an element of inspiration from Voivod. I'm not saying they sound like Voivod, but I can kind of like hear maybe some influences from Voivod. Who knows if they were inspired by Forte? You know, as I said, I can't remember what they sound like, sadly, but I'll check it out for sure. There are lots of like kind of like up-tempo, you know, typical thrash metal beats, but the riffage is different. They use, as I said, I don't know if I said that, but they use kind of like dissonant chords, or at least unusual chords. The songwriting is not just your verse, chorus, bridge, verse, chorus. They use clean vocals, and the vocalist has more of a kind of like, more of like a progressive metal, hard rock kind of voice, I would say. And I think that put off a lot of the extreme metal fans. Had he used like gruff, harsh vocals, more people might have bought into it, but it wouldn't have it wouldn't fit the music. So the songs on here are pretty good. They are sophisticated, but a bit aggressive as well, up-tempo, focus on melodies, but sometimes with some weird, kind of like unusual harmonies and so on and so forth. Non-conspicuous warning, I think a pretty good demo. The production is a bit rough, but for a demo from 1990, it's pretty good, but to the ear of somebody from today, it probably sounds very, very rough. But I think this is a very good release. If you like progressive or technical, or maybe just kind of sophisticated thinking man's thrash metal, or thinking woman's, or thinking person's, you know, everybody should check these out. So the thinking person's thrash metal, you might want to give this demo a listen. The next one, Mirror Pathway, probably my favorite of these demos, although Promotion Tape 95 might objectively be better, but this is kind of like my favorite because it's when they kind of, I don't know if they toured in promotion of this demo, but it was after they had released this demo and they played a lot of the songs from it, and this was the first of their demos I bought. I also really like the cover artwork here. So Mirror Pathway, 1992. The cover artwork here, still black and white, but a bit more detailed than the one up here. And this reminds me, I know it's got nothing to do with that, but it reminds me of the illustrations from the Fighting Fantasy books, which I would read a lot of those when I was a kid. I have a small collection of Final Fantasy books. I bought a lot of them in London, in the Forbidden Planet. Some of them are even signed by the authors, so that's pretty cool. Anyways, back to business. Mirror Pathway, 6 songs, and I think this is almost like full length, album length, or at least mini album length. This could certainly have been an EP, for sure. Had they found a label, they could have released this as an EP. I mean, the production is still a bit on the rough side, but pretty good for a demo tape. But had it been today, they could have released this on an underground label and people would actually have appreciated the rough production. Anyways, so you got 6 tracks on it. The first one is like a keyboard instrumental intro, kind of creepy, but kind of sets the tone. And the next, you know, Darkening of My Realm and pretty much all the other songs, they are still, I would say, within the progressive thrash, technical thrash style. I think here they've gone all out progressive, I think. That's fair enough to say here. They have upped the dissonant chords. They have upped the kind of unusual guitar harmonies. The songs are actually kind of pretty long. Some of them are like 7 minutes, which is what I think kind of adds up to maybe even a full length here. There are still some up-tempo parts, but most of this is mid-tempo to kind of, some of it is a bit heavy. A good example is The Darkening of My Realm, which is mid-tempo, kind of heavy, built around a riff with some dissonant chords. I think maybe they've taken even more cues from Voivod without, again, sounding like Voivod. So I think this was a very good demo. I just gave it a listen this morning, earlier this morning, because this is actually in the morning still. And it's still really, really good. For an underground band, it's very proficient. Somebody in this band does know a thing or two about music theory. That's pretty obvious, I think. All the songs, for my money, the intro is okay, I could take it or leave it, but I can see why they have it. But all the songs are good, I think. Again, kind of sophisticated, technical, progressive thrash metal songs. If you like Voivod, if you like Realm, Target, Invocator, also if you like a bit of just, normal progressive metal, I think you might like this demo, so certainly give it a listen. And the last one here, promotion tape. So this is more like a promo than a demo, whatever the difference is. There's a difference, but it was treated just like a demo tape anyways. They sold it at gigs and so on and so forth. I think I bought my version in the Die Hard / Progress Records store. Anyways, it has three tracks on it, and they've made a complete change of style here. And I think it's pretty cool because the rest of the scene had gone all out extreme metal here. They've gone the other way, mellowed out quite a bit. So this is just like progressive metal, with even some hard rock leanings, some inspiration from, I think, even like from bands like Soundgarden. It doesn't sound like Soundgarden. It's more in the vein of Fate's Warning, maybe with some hints of Queensryche. So it's very mellow, but it's still progressive for my money. It's still interesting. Song structures and compositions, and the vocals are much better. The production is much better too. And so I think this is a very good album. Some of it even, or not album, demo, some of it even reminds me a bit of Lars Erik Matsson's more hard rocky releases. Prove Me Wrong is a good song. Transcend All Space and Time is a great song, I think. And Time Covers Cries is also an awesome song. So check this out if you like progressive metal. The last one here is just The Darkening of My Realm with a different vocalist. And I'd never heard this track before. And it's, from the Mirror Passway demo, which is my favorite. So that was pretty exciting. So I checked it out. I do prefer the Mirror Passway version, but there's a different version here for those of you who are interested. So definitely go and check out Eidetic if you're interested in progressive metal and progressive and technical thrash metal. It's right here in the dungeon. That was a look at Eidetic's 3 demos as documented or archived really in the Danish Demo Dungeon, and there was also an extra version that I had never actually heard of one of the songs from the second demo with a different vocalist. So personally, I thought it was a pretty cool experience. I hope you did too. I am gonna make more of these videos. Thanks for watching.